Hi, Manny.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm having a problem with a client. I was wondering if you had time to consult with me.
You're having a problem with a client. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just want to tell you a little bit about consultation. I've had some training in both clinical and school counseling. Pretty much whatever you tell me will be kept confidential, and the limits of that. If I feel there's a danger to the client or to other people, take the appropriate steps to make sure that that doesn't happen. But yes, I'd be more than willing to hear what you have to talk about.
Okay, great. So I have a female client that's been coming to see me, and she's a young teen. And we've worked together for about a year.
Okay.
And when she first came to me, she was having some problems with cutting, and she has reported that she's not suicidal, nothing like that. But her mom and I are pretty worried. It seems to have something to do maybe with her father leaving and just not being involved in her life anymore. And she was kind of doing some journaling, and we were discussing that in our sessions, but she has started cutting again. She had stopped for a few months, but she started again. So I was just seeing if we could brainstorm some more ideas or get your thoughts on the situation.
Okay. So it's a female client, and she had cutting in the past, and then she had stopped,
Yes.
and now she's come back and has started cutting again.
Correct.
Okay. Have there been any triggers or any events that have occurred that you know of that may have kind of brought this back?
Besides her dad being gone, I guess I'm not sure if there's been some things going on at school, just getting along well with the other girls in our class, or those father-daughter dances. I think that's been pretty difficult for her with her dad being gone.
Okay, now when you say that her dad is gone, is he out of the picture, or does she have some contact with him?
I don't believe that she has any contact with him anymore from our most recent session. It was pretty limited, and now it's just kind of stopped.
Okay, so maybe her not having enough interaction with her dad kind of brought some of these cutting and self-harm.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. And I think you said that you had used journaling in the past as kind of a coping skill for her to use instead of cutting?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you thought of something else that might kind of help her? Any other coping skill?
Well, that's just what had been working, so I hadn't really brainstormed anything else with her. I was just wondering if you had anything else in your toolbox that you had used.
Well, before we go into that toolbox, I kind of think, have you met with her since she's reported that she started cutting again? Have you met with her?
Yes, just once.
Okay. And has she said that her father is the reason why she started cutting, or is that what you kind of...
She was pretty vague, but her mother also sat in on a portion of the session, and her mom seemed to think that that probably was it, and my client didn't deny that that wasn't the reason. She seemed to agree with that that was probably what was bothering her.
Okay. So kind of her father not being in the picture, and she was doing good for a while, and now she started up again, sort of. Okay. Has she shown you any of the cuts that she's done again?
Not this last time. She generally is, in the past we've talked about where she's been cutting at.
Okay, and where has she been cutting at?
Well, it started out on her arm, and then once her mother caught on to that, it was more on her legs.
Okay, so she's kind of been trying to hide it from others.
Yeah.
Okay. And this most recent time, did she cut on her arm or her leg?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Would you say that the client is trying to, you already said that she doesn't want to harm herself. She doesn't
No.
She doesn't want to die.
No, she doesn't.
Okay. So this is kind of her way of having some anger or some depression.
Yeah, it just seems like she's pretty overwhelmed by all the changes in her life, being a young teen and being a young girl and having her dad gone.
So cutting kind of gives her that release, or kind of helps relieve some of the...
It relieves some of the pressure and it takes the focus off of what's going on.
Okay. So she's kind of focusing on cutting to relieve some of her pain or some of her...
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay. So you had said that journaling was kind of a good strategy you've used in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to kind of think of some other ways other healthy ways for her to not be cutting as much. Okay. I know in the past with clients I've used, along with journaling, I know painting, kind of, either drawing what they're feeling, or, kind of songwriting. It doesn't have to be really, it doesn't have to rhyme or really make any sense, but just somewhere where they could focus and write down what they're feeling. And I think if the journaling worked for her, I think that maybe we might need to tweak that a little bit.
Yeah.
I know I have seen research where sometimes if people get like a red marker, and they kind of just make a mark on themselves whenever they're feeling stress or anxiety, that that will help alleviate some of the pressure and some of the pain that they're going through.
Sure.
So, I mean, I would rather someone draw on their arm with a marker instead of, with a cut or with a knife or with scissors. When she cuts herself, how does she cut herself? Does she use knife, or has she...
It's generally a razor.
Generally a razor. Okay. So it might also need to be some kind of safety planning, maybe with mom.
Yeah, we've talked about limiting times in the shower, things like that.
Yeah, and hiding, razor blades, knives, anything, pretty sharp. I mean, I think if she wants to cut herself, she could possibly find one way or another, but
Sure.
I think we kind of need to reduce any other items that she might be able to find. And it sounds like you have a really good rapport with her. I mean, she seems to be pretty honest with you.
Oh yeah, she's very sweet and very open to some ideas. She's just needing a little direction.
Okay. I mean, I would say, kind of having her come in, talk about, I know you and the mom both think that the dad being gone is part of the issue, but maybe just even sitting down with her and just saying, hey, what's going on? You've been doing so good for all this time. Is there something, maybe there's something completely different at school that she just hasn't told you about. Maybe it's other people bullying her, making fun of her just because, oh, hey, your dad's gone, or he couldn't go. Oh, hey, I saw you didn't show up to the father-daughter dance or something. And, and kids, at that young age, they're real sensitive about those types of things.
She's pretty emotional.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of up to you to kind of choose what you want to implement. I think that, just looking at different strategies, like I said, with the marker, or if, I've also heard you get a ice cube, and then you kind of just have her get her to hold it and have her focus on that, and, have her focus on the pain that she's in her hand from the ice cube, and, that might help alleviate some of the stress that she's having. But, yeah, I would say, kind of try a couple of those things out and kind of let me know in a couple days, or the next time after you talk to her.
We have another session next week, so we can talk about some of those ideas then and do some safety planning with your mom. I think that's a good start.
Yeah, and I kind of think just being open and honest with her, that you're concerned, that mom's concerned, and that it's healthy to get out these feelings and talk about it instead of cutting herself.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad I could help. You have a wonderful
This was helpful.
afternoon.
Thank you. You too.